And I'd just like to give an extra special thank you to my Asbantium level patrons, Chris Douglas and Fallon Cortez. Thank you so much for your support. Hey everyone, I'm back from Barcelona. Can't wait to see what Doctor Who has cooked up this time.
Oh my god, it happened. We're your biggest fans.
Oh god. Okay, give me a second. Alright, so after Doctor Who returned with the solid robot revolution, it was time to see new companion Belinda Chandra take her first trip into the past with Lux, which sees our main characters arrive in 1950s Miami, where a cinema has become an abandoned building haunted by films playing to an empty audience. And it's all because of this little guy, Mr. Ring-a-Ding.
I'm Mr. Ring-a-Ding, I make your heart belt.
A sweet and innocent classic cartoon character who finds himself transformed into the villainous god Lux and tries to steal the Doctor's very body and soul. You know, it's basically the casual Saturday night for the Doctor. It's a journey through film reels and fourth walls. But is it good? Does it successfully manage to push boundaries and make things all a bit meta? Well, as always, that's what I'm here to find out. The setting of Lux is absolutely incredible, and it really comes to life in such an effective way. The costuming, set design and acting create a really authentic and atmospheric experience. I just love the cliche diner and stereotypical waiter, the soft glow of neon lights. The episode really effectively captures this idealized version of the 1950s we're so used to in pop culture, like in Happy Days or Buddy Holly by Weezer. When you think of the 1950s, you imagine these exact visuals and this exact atmosphere. And I do also really like the acknowledgement of the Doctor knowing they're in pretty hostile territory because of segregation. Both he and Belinda are at risk of arrest just for being there. Even talking to people in certain places breaks rules. It adds an extra layer of immersion to the episode to make everything just feel that more real. This isn't a situation like the Shakespeare Code, where Martha is worrying about her skin colour and the Doctor just shrugs her off. This time they both have to worry about it, which is why they're so thankful to have landed in the early hours of the morning when they're not in as much danger. It's a good way to establish the difficulties of such a TARDIS team travelling to the past where they're oppressed minorities. It's so easy to romanticise the 50s with the kind of aesthetic we see in this very episode, but I just appreciate how it keeps a balance of hinting at the true societal dangers present too. It's just a well crafted, well presented setting for a story. I really think they nailed it with that. And in this normal, run-of-the-mill 50s movie theatre, disaster strikes. The cold open is just quintessential modern Doctor Who, as we have the cinema screening turning into terror, with Murray Gold really delivering a very RTD1 style score for the episode as a whole. He knocks it out of the park this time. As moonlight happens to hit a spoon and reflect to the screen in the perfect way, Mr. Ring-a-Ding is brought to life. I love the design of Mr. Ring-a-Ding. He looks fantastic and really true to the rubber hose style of animation he's based on. The use of cartoon animation works so well throughout the episode. It's incredible, and I like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit-esque blending of live action and cartoon. You never get the sense that the characters can physically interact with Mr. Ring-a-Ding though, which is a shame, but that's just a general flaw and limitation with the blending of styles. So I can't really blame the episode itself for that. Anyway, Alan Cumming voices Mr. Ring-a-Ding expertly, starting off as the very overly sweet and charming happy-go-lucky cartoon character you'd expect from those kinds of old school cartoons. However, he quickly becomes more brash and sinister as he's transformed into this villain, breaking the cinema's fourth wall by interacting directly with the audience. It's just such a great contrast that really enhances the performance. When it comes to a villain like Mr. Ring-a-Ding, the designers have a tricky job, because you have to first show him in a very positive, lovable light, making you understand why it's just a normal cartoon, before you then make him so evil and intimidating, without either side upsetting the balance. And I think they struck that balance perfectly here. You can actually understand him being an innocent kids cartoon first, and then also being a villain without it really upsetting either. After this cold open, we catch up with the Doctor and Belinda, as the former is trying to fix the TARDIS to get the latter home after the whole time fracture fiasco in the robot revolution. Absolutely love how we're back to the idea of random landings, the protagonists just being bounced off to somewhere else in time and space as they try to get to the only date and time they can't actually get to. I always think Doctor Who is at its best when the Doctor has little to no control over the TARDIS. It's how the show started to begin with, and it just leads to a lot more interesting scenarios in my opinion, because it opens up things so much. The scene also gives us some important backstory for Belinda, giving us an indication of her home life and her mum and dad, who obviously she wants to get back to. This is also a really important aspect for the show, because we have to have at least some idea of our companion's personal life. We want to know who they really are, what they're leaving behind, and who they're scared of losing. It's just such a simple touch that slipped into here quite well. Then the Doctor brings out this vortex indicator gadget thing that will magically fix their inability to get Belinda home. But she can't help but take a look outside, because I mean, you've literally time travelled into the past. Staying in the time machine would be like spending all your time in the hotel on holiday. We get a wardrobe scene mirroring that of the Devil's Cord, almost an exact copy of the Doctor and Ruby getting all dolled up for the 60s. Hell, even the camera movement looks nearly identical here. Is it intentional as some kind of rebound arc? Or is it just unoriginality? Who knows? But I'm not sure I really like either option. So, while waiting around for the vortex indicator to charge up, the Doctor and Belinda stumble upon a bit of a mystery. The cinema is locked and sealed away, 15 people having vanished, and it now stands as a bit of a ghost story.
And every night, the movies keep playing to an empty house.
Throw in the reclusive caretaker and it's all very Scooby-Doo, which the episode constantly acknowledges throughout as the Doctor compares himself to Velma and calls Belinda Fred. It's a nice recurring gag. I love this premise though, a cinema audience simply vanishing into thin air without the slightest trace. It's so quintessentially Doctor Who. I just adore when the characters stumble upon a mystery and they can't resist the urge to solve it. The Doctor and Belinda can easily leave. They have their vortex thingy all charged up and ready to take them back to 2025, but the Doctor chooses not to. He's too fascinated by this mystery, especially since they spoke to Mrs. Lowenstein, a mother who lost her son in the cinema. It's very clear that this scene is there to provide a sense of personal stakes and connection to the lost 15, but it works well, especially since it touches upon that idea of the Doctor, or the TARDIS, inspiring hope in people. Although I'm not really sure why Mrs. Lowenstein is able to see it, considering it has a perception filter on it, but hey, I'm just being a typical Doctor Who nerd, which, yes, we'll get to that part eventually. When the Doctor and Belinda break into the abandoned cinema, they quickly encounter Mr. Ring-a-Ding, with the living cartoon acting really friendly and innocent at first. It's excellent how the Doctor and Belinda quickly show a bit of a Mulder and Scully dynamic, as the Doctor is fascinated by the entity and Belinda is convinced it's some kind of anachronistic hologram technology. However, Mr. Ring-a-Ding is very real, and his intentions are revealed when his laugh is revealed to be the giggle from, well, the giggle, exposing him to be one of the gods of the Pantheon, the main villains of this R2-D2 era. I said R2-D2, I meant to say RTD2. God damn it. And as expected, the Harvest Bringer movie advertised by the cinema is revealed as Harbinger. Indeed, Mr. Ring-a-Ding is actually Lux Imperator, the god of light who feeds on light, and the movie's projectionist Reginald has been feeding him to keep the villain satiated. I've not been the biggest fan of the whole Pantheon stuff, but I think Lux works well as a villain in this episode. He traps the audience in the film reels, and he can manipulate the very fabric of films to bring things to life, like Reginald's dead wife from a home video. I wish they'd played with this a bit more, Lux using random film reels to conjure up weapons or little side threats for Belinda to fight off whilst the Doctor is indisposed. I think they definitely missed a trick there. It would be a good way to show Lux's powers off a bit more and make him a more direct threat. How easily he can convert matter to and from these film reels. It's probably the biggest problem of the episode. We just don't get enough of the titular villain. The episode stalls majorly in the middle, and Lux is very absent during this entire middle act, which is really disappointing and hurts the episode a fair bit in my opinion. The main showcase of Lux's abilities is when he turns the Doctor and Belinda into cartoons. A very fun little turn of events as they're converted into these Hanna-Barbera-esque characters, and even perform their voice acting like it's classic Scooby-Doo. It's a bit of a silly, fun idea that to escape, our protagonists have to display a wider range of emotions, becoming literal three-dimensional characters. Yes, very tongue-in-cheek there. It's also a good excuse to have Belinda learn about Gallifrey and the Time Lords being dead. There's nobody else out there that can help them in this situation or the wider bouncing off Earth situation they're dealing with. It really does give me Series 3 vibes though. Gridlock had Martha wanting to go to the Doctor's planet, only for him to brush it off and then later explain his home and his people are gone because he's the last of the Time Lords. And what happened at the end of that series? Oh yeah, another Time Lord showed up. That's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Anyway, to escape this cartoon hell, the protagonists have to break the frame, only to start getting arrested. I do like this fake out, it initially seems real, and Belinda completely falls for it out of fear, only for the Doctor to point out continuity errors in the officer's uniform, revealing it to just be another trick by Lux. Again, I wish we would have gotten more glimpses like this of his abilities, showing how he can bend and shape reality through the medium of film and film reels. But we don't get that, because the Doctor and Belinda realise they have to push out of our TV screens to escape. And here's where things get very, very polarising. For a long time now, there have been rumours of a big reveal where the Doctor discovers he's in a TV show. Well, as it turns out, he does, just in this episode, not the wider season. Yes, when the Doctor and Belinda push their way out of the film reels, they find themselves in a living room full of Doctor Who fans. And, of course, they're characterised as cringe-worthy nerds. Hey, at least Osgood is no longer the worst pastiche of Doctor Who fans. Okay, look, I don't mind this scene in concept. It's a really neat and creative way to capitalise on the powers and abilities of Lux. He can layer these realities to create a situation that feels like the Doctor entering our world. There's a nice sense of things being appropriately meta, like all the fans saying Blink is their favourite episode. Although in my opinion, they really missed a trick here by not having the Doctor annoyed that their favourite episode is one he's barely even in. That would have been a good joke, and it would have been an appropriate reaction from the Doctor. It would have been very in character. And also, you're telling me these are superfans who dress up to watch every episode, but all their favourite episode is Blink? Come on, Davis, that's a rookie error. That's the basic bitch favourite. You know their favourites would actually be Heaven Sent, Earthshock, The Doctor Falls, or even, well, Midnight. It's always tricky to do something meta like this, and for it to actually be good, especially because you have to walk the very thin tightrope of how the fans are presented. It kind of falls a bit flat in that regard, because the scene is just so long and drawn out, with the fans a little bit insufferable. I mean, actually, it's kind of realistic. Doctor Who fans are insufferable, but it's annoying enough having to deal with them in the real world and Twitter and things. I don't need it in the show too. But I do think the scene redeems itself towards the end with the reveal that it's actually the fans who are fictional, not the Doctor. It's the Red Dwarf Back to Earth twist, which initially makes you think that the Red Dwarf crew are in our real world, only to reveal at the end that the whole thing was a hallucination, and the fans of the Red Dwarf show in the episode are the fictional characters. Lux does the exact same thing here, but in a much more emotional way, because the fans have figured things out and they know they'll stop existing, which is why they try to keep the Doctor and Belinda talking for as long as possible, because the moment these protagonists leave, these fictional fans cease to exist and will basically die. The use of Series 5's Sad Man in a Box theme is a bit of a strange one because it's such an old track with no clear purpose for being reused, but I guess it works in tandem with the whole meta narrative of the scene, so I can excuse them just throwing in an older leitmotif in there for basically no reason. The moment where the fans encourage the Doctor to leave and save the day is actually quite emotional, and it lands well for me, even if the rest of the scene drags on way too long. The fans being so willing to sacrifice themselves like this is a nice way of showing how Doctor Who inspires people to act like the Doctor and adopt his positive traits of kindness and compassion, giving their own lives to save his, just like they know he'd do for them. It's just a shame the episode basically completely grinds to a halt for this meta scene. The episode completely stops for it, it lasts ages, and then the episode just has to kind of rush to the finish because they spent too long lingering on this self-gratifying idea. Anyway, now that they're back in reality, Lux ties up the Doctor to try and steal his body so he can go out into the real world and feed on the power of atom bombs. It's true, Lux is ready to join the Children of Atom and take over the wasteland. Earlier in the episode, the Doctor demanded to know how to defeat Lux in accordance with those vague rules of the gods bound by their games, or however it works, but Lux answered with a riddle of what he never does. And in this climax, we find out that this is going outside. He's just like me, for real, I can relate. Without the Doctor's powerful Time Lord body, Lux can't survive outside. So he starts turning into this 3D character as he becomes more lifelike from stealing the Doctor's life force. I like how the cute and cartoony Mr. Ring-a-Ding initially becomes a slightly less but still cute 3D character, only to push it further and end up this absolutely incredibly creepy and uncanny, realistic 3D monstrosity. It's a complete bastardization of the character's design, and I think that's an intentional commentary on this ongoing trend of taking something like The Lion King or How to Train Your Dragon, really timelessly animated movies with incredible design and creative expression, and trying to remake everything as realistic, thus losing all the charm and lovable creativity of the originals. Much like a lot of cartoon characters, Mr. Ring-a-Ding is designed to only be a cartoon character. Any other design style or medium changes the design far too much and ruins the soul of the character, which is why he looks so freakish and creepy in his final form, because this little 2D fella was never supposed to end up like this. It's fantastic attention to detail. Anyway, Belinda realises she has to destroy the entire Patrick Troughton era of Doctor Who by burning a bunch of reels and destroying them, since Lux can't survive outside, and if you blow up the cinema, he'll be exposed to the sunlight and die. Reginald, who has just been hiding and crying in the projector room this whole time, is suddenly visited by the film-resurrected spectre of his dead wife, who tells him to join her in the afterlife. A little bit morbid there. So he does the traditional Doctor Who side character move of sacrificing himself to burn the film. This then magically leads to the exact right part of the building blowing up at the exact right time the sun is in view of the hole to shine on Lux. It's literally the ending of Tooth and Claw. And as you all know, I hate Tooth and Claw.
The wolf needs moonlight. It's made by moonlight.
You're 70% water, you can still drown.
It was made of light.
We're 60% water and we can still drown.
Anyway, Lux can't survive in the sun, so he's overeating when this concentrated sunbeam hits it. He goes back to being all cartoonified again, before flying off into the cosmos and becoming all light in creation or something. It's implied he's now an actual god in the traditional sense, just everywhere all at once and intangible. Wasn't that how he started and the whole spoon light thing allowed him to take form? I don't know, man, it's a good ending, but like with a lot of Russell T Davies episodes, if you think too much about it, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So, the day is saved, everybody lives, and the 15 missing people magically come back completely intact. It's all a very happy and emotional moment, but nobody even mentions Reginald. You know, the guy who literally saved the day. Sucks for him, I guess. Anyway, Mrs. Flood shows up at the end to point out the TARDIS dematerializing, which is the first time she's appeared anywhere other than present-day Earth. It really makes things very interesting because it shows now for sure that she's able to time travel, now just casually following around the Doctor wherever he goes. And, of course, she manages to evade being recognised by either him or Belinda, since that would obviously give away whatever game she's playing here. She also hints towards Wish World being the end of everything, that date of 24th of May once again coming up. So clearly, whatever events are due to happen, she's pretty safely locked in as the villain, potentially having already done all her damage and now returning through the Doctor's timeline to gloat. Or she really just wants to destroy the world on that day specifically and has it all planned out. Either way, she's going to be showing up every week, which is very interesting. Maybe she has her own TARDIS. Oh, and at the very end, during the credits, we cut back to those annoying Doctor Who fans talking about the episode, so I guess they're still alive somehow, they still casually just exist. Don't ask how that makes sense, at least we don't have to see them again, because they need to answer for their collection box set ordering crimes. Oh, and where's their Big Finish shelf? Shame on them. They truly are fake fans. Look, I can't lie. In the lead up to season 2, I didn't have especially high hopes for Lux. I didn't like Devil's Cord all that much, and I haven't been too keen on the whole focus of the pantheon of gods in this current era. But I have to admit, I think Lux is a very, very solid episode. It's got such a rich mystery atmosphere, almost like Torchwoods from Out of the Rain, but better. Not that that takes much. Mr. Ring-a-Ding is an absolutely phenomenal villain. He looks incredible and he's animated incredible, and Alan Cumming is perfect as his charming yet unhinged evil voice. The episode is very simple and low-key, but that's just what I think we need more of in Doctor Who. We need more mysterious ghost stories like this, where a spooky cinema is home to a supernatural monstrosity with evil in its heart. The 50s setting comes to life spectacularly with beautiful visuals of neon lights and vintage costumes. It's a really nice looking and immersive episode. The directing and cinematography really need to be applauded for this. It's almost like an episode that proves Doctor Who doesn't need to be this huge action-packed Disney approach to still feel authentic and impressive. It's full of suspense, drama, charm, and it pushes the boundaries without ever really betraying the feeling of being Doctor Who. I will admit though that the pacing is a bit disappointing here, since the whole episode grinds to a halt for the meta Doctor Who fan scene, kind of derailing things and minimising Mr. Ring-a-Ding as a presence and as a threat. We really needed to see more of what he could do and what he's capable of, rather than dedicating such a big chunk of the episode to some really basic and played out Doctor Who fan jokes. Regardless, I think I'd give Lux a solid B grade. Far higher than what I expected to give it a few weeks ago. It just nails its tone and concept so effortlessly and impressively. Murray Gold also makes a strong return to form with his score for the episode. The music is fantastic throughout. All in all, I think it's one of the most consistent and enjoyable episodes of the second Davis era, and definitely one of his strongest scripts since returning to the show. It just feels so quintessential pure Doctor Who, and I love that about it. It's not perfect, but it has so many positives that even a B rank maybe feels a little bit unfair, although it wasn't quite up to an A rank standard. It's more like a B plus player, but that's okay. It's still a very entertaining and gripping episode through and through, in my opinion at least. And now it's time for our weekly segment of Harbingo, which you can play along with on the official Harbo Wholmes Discord server. So, Editor Duncan, did you get a Harbingo this week? Oh dear, you didn't get me. Better luck next time. And let me know in the comments if any of you got a Harbingo this week. But what do you think of Lux? Is it a silver screen success, or is it a box office bomb? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. And I'd just like to give a special thank you to my Asbantium level patrons, Chris Douglas and Fallon Cortez, my Platinum level patron, Matthew Burns, and all my Gold level patrons, Ben Salmon, Daniel Shillito, Lee Marie, Penguin of the Patreon, and Seb Falco. Thank you so much for your support.